Good morning. We are streaming live. Okay, we are live. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are your Team Logic Tech Talk Tuesday. And today I am so excited. Jeremy is going to be joining us in a few minutes, but until he joins us, I just wanted to introduce us, tell you why we're here and what we're doing. So it is Tech Talk Tuesday. I am Tracy Kraushorn. This is Wayne Kraushorn, and we are your Tech Talk team. Like I said, Jeremy will be joining us soon. The goal of this Tech Talk Tuesday is that IT is ever changing. And so we just want to come and support you and educate you on in our business community for all things IT. So we want to provide a forum so that you guys can come and ask questions and just get to know us, and we get to know you and help you through any issues that you guys might have or just any questions that you guys might have. So we are going to start today. One of the things we're going to do is we'll post email addresses where you can ask questions, and you can also send questions in the chat. So I will be looking for those. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to just put in the chat, and at the end we'll go through and we'll answer anything that we can. So,
yeah, and it doesn't have to be about this subject. If you have any IT questions, feel free to post them.
All right. So today we are talking about antivirus. And Wayne, I think most people have heard of what antivirus software is. I mean, I'm sure most people are aware of it, and probably most people have it. But what is the most important things for them to know about the antivirus software?
Yeah, I think everybody has heard of it. But let's start by talking about what it is. So antivirus is a program, and it operates in your background. So every program that you open, every file you open, every file you download, every website you hit, the antivirus is working in the background, and it's looking for cyber attacks and viruses, things of that nature. So it does this a number of ways. So the very basic way is there's a database of thousands of known viruses, ones that have been identified. So it runs through that and uses that to flag anything that shouldn't be there. But that doesn't go far enough. The problem is there are thousands, literally thousands of viruses, new ones being created every day. So the antivirus programs have had to get more sophisticated over time. So what they do is they also look for traits and variants, things that have similarities to known viruses. So it has to have more intelligence now. The other thing it does is it actually looks for unusual behavior within your PC itself. So if suddenly there's a monitoring of your keyboard to try to steal your password credentials, or there's files getting modified or deleted, or settings getting changed, those are alerts for the software as well. And to do these things, one of the neat things, geeky things about it is these programs, the better ones are starting to use artificial intelligence. If you think about it, it has to see traits and identify based on partial information, kind of how our brains work. There's one last thing that you're going to see if you're evaluating suppliers. There's something called sandboxing. And what sandboxing is, it's a newer technology where when you go to open up an executable file, what it'll do is it'll put it in an emulated, safe, contained environment. It'll open it up, and if it starts malicious activity, it can immediately lock it down, quarantine it. If it's opened up and it's normal, it'll go ahead and just operate as normal. So that's what it does. So I think the one thing I want to make sure everybody takes away from this, please make sure you have an active license. And why that's so important, as I mentioned, there are thousands of new ones every day. And so when they find new ones, the software engineers will add it to the library. So an active license will update your database, your software, at least once a day. So there are free ones, or a lot of people will download the 30-day trial and never actually enroll in it. So whichever you have, please make sure it's an active license. They can do monthly, they can do yearly, they can do multiple years, but make sure you have that.
Okay. I'm sure there's different price points to all of those, or I'm sure at each price point too, there's different ones that are, like for students or for, people who just surf the web or for businesses. I mean, are there differences and at those different price points, are there certain ones that are better than others?
Yeah, that's a good question. Certainly there are some businesses that are higher risk and bigger targets. If you think of healthcare being one, they have a lot of personal information. Financial institutions have a lot of personal information. They have to have better technology. So, I mentioned an option here earlier of sandboxing. Typically, that's an additional price. So, if you have a consultant, an IT consultant, you really need to evaluate on your business and what is your risk.
Got it. Sounds good. Mm-hmm. All right. So most of the population, I think, has a PC, right? Mm-hmm. I run Mac because my other love is photography. So I run on a Mac, but I know you run on a PC. And I also know that back in the day, Macs didn't really have to have antivirus because they were, known for them being safe. Right. But now they're becoming more part of the market. I mean, there's 10% are Mac users. Mm-hmm. So as this is growing and, obviously Windows runs they have an antivirus software already that comes with the computer, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
I think it's Defender.
Windows Defender,
okay. Yes. And then Mac has one too. I don't know the name of it, but do we need more than just what the computer comes with?
Yes, you do. Apple actually recommends, they've experimented with some antivirus in the past that come with the Mac operating system, but they themselves will even recommend an additional antivirus software. Yes, Windows 10 comes with something called Windows Defender. Mm-hmm. It's okay, but really you should have an antivirus program. It's one of those things, like anything. A lot of these antivirus companies, that's what they do. That's their whole core value. And they're going to do a better job than somebody like Windows that does a lot of different things, and they have a group that's also doing some antivirus. You really need somebody with a full infrastructure to deal with the ever-increasing cybersecurity threat. And to your point, Macs, back in the day, Macs would be, you don't need it. Nobody ever attacks a Mac. Well, now that they're over 10% of the market, yes, yeah. They are attacking the Macs, and there's been some pretty big hacks lately. And every customer we go into today has a combination of Macs and PCs. It's always, people have their preferences.
Yeah, they do. So what about cell phones and tablets?
Mm-hmm. So though attacks are not as common, they do happen. Mm-hmm. And so more so on Androids than Apple. Apple devices are pretty rare. Again, it kind of gets back to more and more businesses in the field have a remote force, and a lot of them are using mobile devices as part of their work. Mm-hmm. They're using it to access information. And so a lot of these phones have personal information or at least proprietary files on them. Especially with Android devices, it's cheap insurance. These things are typically, $2 or $3 a month per device. Yeah. And so it's good. One of the tips I will give is always never go to a website and download an app. Use the Play Stores. The Play Stores sanitize these things. They make sure they're clean. Okay. If there's something you want, go to the Play Store.
Yeah, or the App Store.
Or App Store. Play Store, App Store. All right, Apple girl.
We are definitely on opposite teams here.
Apple, PC, yes, but that's okay.
All right.
We work with both.
We do. What are some of the symptoms that somebody's computer may already be infected? Like, how would we know?
There's a lot of things that can be happening. You may start seeing, shutdowns and lockups. You may see your processing resources starting to diminish. Mm-hmm. Error messages.
What about speed?
Yeah, the speed, yeah, the processing and the speed, yeah, you can see that starting. Some of them will start taxing the resources, your processing resources of your PC. So there's a lot of things that you will start to see, and we can, when we start with a customer, the first thing we will do is we'll put an antivirus on and we'll run a full scan. Typically, an antivirus doesn't run a full scan every time.
Right.
What it does, it runs the first initial, and then it just continues to monitor and looks at new things that happen. It doesn't necessarily look at your entire hard drive.
Okay.
So what we do is we run it and do the first initial scan.
That's good. All right, let me check and see if we have any questions here. Go to the comments. Whoop. All right, I don't see any at this point, but you guys can always, if you're watching the replay, you can always come back in, answer questions. We do monitor the page. I will post an email where you guys can send questions in also. And so, Wayne, what are we going to cover next week?
Next week is the third week of our cybersecurity series. And so it's we're going to deal with firewalls and best practices around Wi-Fi. And then we're going to continue the following week on what we call disaster recovery. Because, you know, we're talking about a lot of tools that we have to lock you down, but nothing is 100%. And so you have to have a plan. If you get hit with ransomware, if you get, you know, we're in Florida, you know, get hit with a hurricane or one of the tornadoes spawned by a hurricane, or it could be something as simple as the sprinklers go off in your IT room. You know, you need a plan where everything is secure so that you can very quickly recover and get back to operation. And so we're going to talk about some of those options of how you can have disaster recovery.
Oh, yeah, well, everybody needs that, especially here in Florida. All right, well, Jeremy, unfortunately, was not able to join us today. So next week, we will have a great tip for you. And do you have anything you want to add?
No,
right.
Appreciate everybody joining us. I hope you could learn something from it. If you have any questions, reach out, chat, Facebook Messenger, whatever, and we'll be glad to answer.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. It is Tech Talk Tuesday, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.